Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about something that makes me a bit nervous to talk about. I haven't really shared it anywhere, and so I don't really know how to bring it up to you guys. I'm a bit nervous, so I'm just going to go right into it. So in November of last year, I started feeling some unusual pain on my left side of my pelvis. And I kind of thought nothing of it. I thought it was like a UTI. Maybe I just needed to take some over-the-counter pills, as I did. And I drank some cranberry juice and I drank some water, as I usually do, to see if maybe it would go away. And the last weeks of November, I did get a doctor's appointment because the pain wasn't really going away. It just felt really weird. And they were going to schedule an ultrasound, but at the beginning of December, it was my wedding. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to schedule that. So I did my wedding, I went to my honeymoon, I had some stomach discomfort on my honeymoon the first couple days, and then everything was kind of fine. When I came back, because I was newly married, and at the time, this was at the beginning of January, I was 20, or I am 20 now, but at the beginning of January, I had just turned 20, and I was like, let me go ahead and get a PAP so that I can make sure everything's okay in there. You know? So I went ahead and I did. Now usually they usually do pap smears by the time you're 21. But I was like, look, I'm married already, so can we just like do it a year before? And they're like, yeah, sure. So I went ahead and I scheduled that. So it was a bit uncomfortable. And then on the side that unusual discomfort pain was coming from, I had to let her know. So she did, it's called like a semi-annual, which is where they insert the fingers and start touching to see if there's any cysts or anything that's like an abnormality. And so at one point she touched like my stomach, pelvic area, and put her fingers in at the same time, and I started to bleed excessively. It looked like a murder scene in there. I was a little scared. I didn't know what was going on because I'm just laying there. I'm like, you know, I'm just laying in the back. And then I just feel something odd, warm, uncomfortable, and I look down to see what's going on, and her gloves. This is a lot of information, so if you're a little weak of the stomach with blood, I'm sorry. She saw her gloves, and it was a bit bloody, and it was something that she had never seen because she was a nurse practitioner. And so she was a little overwhelmed by it. She was like, that's a little weird. Then I started to get really dizzy, and I guess it's called something like I vogeled, which means that like your heart rate drops and your blood pressure drops, and my heart's like pounding like crazy, and I almost passed out. So my mom was actually waiting in the car. I had to call her. The nurse practitioner had to get the doctor. It was a whole deal, and I was actually sent to the emergency room from there because it was very unusual. So I go to the emergency room, they did a transvaginal, they did a regular ultrasound on top, and they couldn't find anything. So that was fine, but it still didn't solve the issue of what the heck is going on? Like, why am I feeling so much pain? Bleeding stopped, I felt better, I went back to work, and the pains just kept coming. Like, they just kept going on, kept going there. So after that point, I saw a gynecologist, and she checked again. My menstrual cycle at that point, this was like maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, I saw a gynecologist, and I did have my menstrual cycle at that point. She said, everything looks fine. One of my biggest fears that I have always had, ever since I was young, is I've always wanted to be a mother, and I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to be healthy enough to carry a child or have complications. So that's why I was so devastated and nervous, like, oh my gosh, what if there's something really wrong with me? So as time went on, I saw that gynecologist. She said everything was fine, but things still didn't really feel right. I was still having a lot of pain. My primary care doctor sent me to UCSD to see one of their best gynecologists. I went there, and it was really frustrating. I'm just gonna be honest. It's really frustrating because you're going through something that no one else is feeling your pain, but you're going through something that is very painful, very unusual, and people don't know what it is. So I go to this gynecologist. She's supposed to be one of the best, and she says, look, I don't know how to help you. Like, I don't know what you have, and it's just as frustrating as it is for doctors as it is for patients to not know how to help you. She did diagnose me with PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, because of my lack of periods, because I wasn't getting them like regularly. They were very irregular, as in it's not like I would get it a few days late, I just wouldn't get them at all, or they would come 3 months late. Like, it was just odd, it was excessive. So then they decided that they wanted me to go see another specialist. So also with UCSD, I saw an endocrinologist. He's a fertility and endocrinologist specialist, and he is an awesome doctor. Now, endometriosis can be hereditary, and I found out recently that my grandmother actually had to get a hysterectomy. I was like in a lot of pain. I stopped working. I have been on disability from this situation because there's no answer. I'm way too fatigued. I wake up exhausted even though I slept, and I'm just going through this pain all the time. So the specialist, ends up telling me that he can give me any one of these options, because what he does is he can give you the medication and see if it kind of controls, because in order for you to diagnose endometriosis, you have to have a laparoscopic surgery. And so he didn't want to do that because I'm, one, really young. He didn't want to create scar tissue, and they have other methods to kind of help the situation. So what he would do is give me like Orlissa, he would install an IUD, he would do Lupron, Depo-Provera, just all these options to basically shut down my periods, so kind of me reproducing, anything like that, because it was just really painful. I didn't want to do all of that. Now, if you guys watched my life update from part 1 and part 2, you know that I am not the healthiest. I'm dealing with chronic asthma, I have tendinitis, and that requires a lot of medication, a lot of pills. So kind of being told like, hey, we don't know what it is, but you possibly have PCOS. We don't know if you have endometriosis, but we're going to give you these medications and kind of shoot in the dark to see maybe if that's it. But the problem is that I'm just going to be honest. I wasn't trying to be difficult. It's a really big decision. It's a really big decision to be like, okay, well, hey, we're going to shut down your reproductive system and see if that works, because we don't really know what you have, but we're going to shut down your reproductive system to see if that helps. I wasn't pleased with it at all. I wasn't. So after joining groups and Facebook groups and kind of word of mouth and just looking at everything, I realized that endometriosis is probably something that I possibly have. And so what I would read and what I've seen is through pregnancy, it could try to heal the endometriosis or whatever's going on in the future. And because endometriosis and PCOS do cause, they're one of the highest factors of infertility. So reading all this, kind of not really self-diagnosing, but trying to figure out all the causes and the pain that I have really leads to this, and that it's hereditary. I'm like, okay, so let's try to figure out a way to help myself, since the doctors don't really know what to do. So my husband and I made the decision that we wanted to conceive. We're like, you know what? I'm a sickling. Something always happens. Tendinitis, asthma, pills. Why don't we just try to conceive? Because it's better that we have a child now and hopefully cure it. If we don't, at least I was blessed with one child, and then I could go into the surgery. Because the thing is that they didn't want to do the surgery because they didn't want to cause scar tissue, and because of my weight. That was the biggest thing. Because of my weight, they didn't want to do that. So I tell my doctor this, and he wanted to, he respected the choice and the decision, and he decided that he wanted to start giving me letrozole. So letrozole, again, I kept going through months where I was skipping my period. He wanted to try to trigger my period so that I would ovulate. In August, my husband and I decided to start conceiving naturally, and so it wasn't happening. Now, as I said before, intercourse has been very painful for me. So it sucks. You don't want that to happen. Like, you're a newlywed. Like, this had to happen the time you get married, really? So he's tried in August, and we're now in December, and we just hadn't had any luck. And my periods also weren't coming regularly, and so we didn't really know what mixture of disaster was going on here. So he says because possibly my PCOS, he was gonna try to trigger my periods. And he says that now in this like new phenomenon that they're doing, they believe that I could have endometriosis. That it's due to every symptom that I'm feeling, due to, down to the T, this is probably what you have. So I asked him again, okay, well then, in my group, in my endometriosis group, I see a lot of women saying that there's girls that have had surgery since they were like 12 years old. And even though the scar tissue may be there, it's not anything that's gonna really damage, you know, the insides or anything like that. It's really just taking away all of that stuff that could damage your uterus or your ovaries. He still said no. So he wanted to try those letrozole shots. He wanted me to drop 15 pounds. And then he also ordered an HSG test, and it's like a histosonogram, and that was awful. In October, towards the end of October, I started feeling like super bad, like more than usual, like something was just really not right. And then it started to become really painful, and then all of a sudden I started like bleeding out of the blue, just super strange. And so we ended up going to the emergency room once again. Now, mind you, the emergency room, because the doctors don't know what it is, they don't know what it is, so they don't really know how to help me. So going to the emergency room is never really a great idea, but in this case, I was bleeding. There had to be a weird reason. They do transvaginal, which was excruciating. They gave me Toradol and morphine, and I still could feel a transvaginal. That was awful. I never liked doing them, and in this case, it was even worse. They found that I actually had a cyst rupture. And then they were saying that, you know, I had to be careful and take ibuprofen and take things that were de-inflammatories so that my ovary wouldn't turn, I wouldn't get ovarian torsion. So that was pretty crazy. I was pretty scared. And then, you know, for the coming month, for that month, I was just like lay low. Like either I couldn't attend parties, I was just like in pain more than I usually am. And it was kind of like I was just in my house and I didn't want to get out and I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to do anything. So in November, you know, I was starting to feel a little less pain from the whole cyst rupture, because it does last in your system for a while. Like that whole process you go through is just never good. I feel like I've missed out on a couple different things. You know, my pageant that I had this year was great, but at the same time I was dealing with all of this pain during that, and it was kind of just like really, for better of lack of word, sucking it up during all of it, you know, and trying to be a champ and taking a lot of ibuprofen and Motrin, just trying to control all of that. But it's just exhausting because you want to treat your body nicely. Like, you don't want to be taking tramadol, you don't want to be taking ibuprofen every day, you know, and then you have these doctors that just don't know what you have. But then they're not really giving the full resources as to what could help you either, because a laparoscopic would really be the only way you would be able to find it and then get rid of it. You know, and it could reoccur years after. You know, but then we want to go this whole fertility route, and it's not exactly becoming the easiest task either. So that's kind of what I wanted to share with you guys. I just wanted to really give you guys an insight of my life right now. You know, like, it's really hard to stay positive, and it's really hard to just see the light at the end of the tunnel with this specific problem. You know, but I'm going. Every day I strive to be a little bit more positive, and my family is and will always be very supportive. And I think as I said in my pageant in the past, I said that, you know, having a platform is something that's really important, because you get to bring things to light that people wouldn't normally see. And I think that endometriosis is something that I really want people to understand. It affects a lot of women, and people don't actually know that. You know, it's kind of out of word of mouth. Some people say you don't have it or don't believe you have it, and you do. And it's really sad that statistically it takes 10 years to even figure that out. Now, I'm not saying, I am not a medical specialist, I'm not a doctor to say that I have endometriosis. My doctor has said he believes I have it from the symptoms that I have. You know, and I guess this is just kind of the journey that I'm going through to see if I actually have that or not. Because right now, that's what's just really stressful. It's kind of like a present that you can never open. You know, you want to know what's inside, but you can't see it. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. I know this isn't the happiest video, but I just really wanted to be honest with you guys and share what's really going on in my life. But I will be making another video that I feel I'm going to be brutally honest about, and it's going to be talking about my fertility and the, you know, the I guess obstacles and hoops and hurdles that we're jumping through right now. And so stay tuned for that second video, because I feel like that's something else that I really want to have other people connect with, because I know that it affects a lot of people. So stay tuned for my next video. Thank you so much for watching. If you stuck through this whole video, you are a champ, and I love you all for it. So thank you so much, and please give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to spread love and be kind. Kindly, Kiana.